Good morning, everyone. Today we'll continue the same chapter, the world population, distribution, density, and growth. So far, we have discussed about patterns of population distribution in the world, density of population, factors influencing the distribution of population, population growth, components of population change, migration, and we will discuss today the trends in population growth, doubling time of world population, and a spatial pattern of population change. These three topics we'll discuss today. Now, the first topic is trends in population growth. What does this mean? What does this trends in population growth mean? Population trend refers to changes over time and can include changes in distribution, size of population, birth rate, death rate, etc. And this one is you can better understand like this, that with the passage of time the population has grown to its size, and then for example in the early periods population of the world grew very slowly. It is only during the last few hundred years that population has increased at an alarming rate. But you may ask me, what is the size of population? The size of population is the actual number of individuals in a population. Okay, so we can relate it with the population density. That population density is a measurement of the population size, right? And how to calculate the population density, that's I have already discussed with you in my previous videos. Now children, do you remember what is population growth? This is the increase in the number of individuals in a population. So don't be confused here. There is a difference between the population growth and the size of population. Population growth, here it means that there is an increase in the number of individuals in a population. Whereas in the size of population, actual number of individuals that increases in a population. Okay. Now this is one of the figure which you can see. With the help of this figure, I would like to explain the trends in population and the resources, how the resource technology and population growth that has taken place. I mean the development of the technology and utilization of the resources, and then these two have helped the population growth. You can see here that after 18th century, that major improvements or major revolution like industrial, transportation, sanitation, then biotechnology, information, computers, and number of technological innovations have taken place. Now population increased basically, just now I told you, from 18th century to till date, and these revolutions were in full swing, okay, after 18th century. So what was the outcome of this? What was the result of these the revolution? The outcome was that there was an increase in the life expectancy, then a standard of living increased, mortality rate decreased, due to which that the population explosion or population exploded after 18th century. Okay, I can tell you in other words that this figure tells the story of population growth after the evolution and introduction of agriculture about 12,000, you can see here 12,000 years, 12,000 to 88,000 years ago, the size of population was very small, roughly 8 million, and in the first century AD it was below 300 million. Sometimes you can see 250 million or in between 200 million or 300 million of population. Then the expanding population trade during the 16th and 17th century set the stage for rapid population growth. And around 1750, at the dawn of industrial revolution, the world population grew, and the world population was about 550 million. Sorry. So world population exploded in the 18th century. Just now I told you with the after the different types of revolution. Then technological advancement, industrial revolution, and then the information, computers, biotechnology, all these took place. I mean, the development in this field took place, and this helped in the reduction of birth rate and provided the stage for accelerated population growth. Now there comes a topic, doubling time of world population. What is this doubling time of world population? The doubling time of world population in your book, it is given, it is given that it took more than a million years for the population to attain 1 billion mark, but it took only 12 years for it to rise from 5 billion to 6 billion. Okay, so in other words, I can tell you like this, that it is the amount of time, right? It is the amount of time it takes for a given quantity to double in size or value at at a constant growth rate. Okay, what is this then, doubling time of world population? It is the amount of time it takes for given quantity to double. Given quantity, here we are taking what? The population. We can take the money also, but here we will have to discuss about the population growth or value at a constant growth rate. We can find out the doubling time of population undergoing exponential growth by using the rule of 70. You may ask me, what is this? Well, exponential sorry, exponential growth whose rate becomes ever more rapid in proportion to the growing total number or size. This is your exponential growth rate. Again telling you, growth whose rate becomes ever more or rapid in proportion to the growing growing total number or size. So it means that the quantity may increase over time. As far as population is concerned, if the resources are limited, the population can experience exponential growth where its size increases at a greater and greater rate. Got it? If the resources are limited and the growth of population is taking place and the size of population is increasing day by day, right? So that would have a negative impact on the economy also. But population cannot grow exponentially forever. Of course. Is that clear? The population cannot grow exponentially forever. Why? Because sometimes it may increase, it may not increase. There would be the decrease in the population or increase in the population. So we cannot say this, that the population will grow exponentially forever. There may be the change in the size of the population that is related to the population growth. Okay. Now the one question is here, how rule of 70. Rule of 70 is nothing, it's simply that if you know about the growth of population, you simply have to divide it by 70. Then you will get your doubling time of population. Okay, simply you have, if you know the population growth, then you have to divide it by 70. Now here, with the help of this table, what is given, that you can see the period is 10,000 BC, 1650, then 1804, 1927, 19 74 and 20,025. And the population is given here 5 million, 500 millions. Then the doubling of the population is 1248. And the time is also given, right? The time is given here, or the period is given 1500 years or 1500 years. I mean, it has taken to double the population. Then 154 years it has taken to double the population. Then 123 years it has taken to double the population. So that is how that the population doubling time of world population takes place. Then one thing is also given here, that the comparison of population growth can be made on the on the basis of the doubling period of population. For example, if the rate of the growth of a country is 2%, okay, 2%, then will normally take 35 years for the population to double. And this is what I just now told you, that the formula for calculating doubling of population is as under. Here I have given you that doubling time to the population is equal to what? 70 into rate of growth. And I have shown you the table, that table, how the population grew, right, or doubled. 10,000 years BC, it can be seen that this doubling time in terms of number of years has been constantly coming down, and the doubling time has come down after 1500 years in the beginning to just 37 years today. I mean, the doubling time is decreasing, but the population is increasing. I mean, the doubling of the population is taking place, and the years in which they are doubled is decreasing. Then here again you can see that 10,500, 50 crores, 1 billion, 2 billion, 4 billion, 8 billion is also given, and the period of population, doubling of population is 1500, then 200, 80, 47, 45, 37. This is what the years, the period, the time is, what is that? The time is, the year is decreasing, what the doubling is taking place in that way. Now, the question is here that developed countries take more time to double their population as compared to developing countries. Why? Developed countries tend to have lower birth rate due to lifestyles, choices associated with economic affluence, where mortality rates are low, birth rate or birth controls, okay. In developed countries, that the developed countries tend to have lower birth rate, and due to lifestyles, choices associated with economic affluence, where mortality rates are low, and birth control. Whereas in a developing countries, what do you see? That in a developing countries, population growth is high due to lack of education for girls, women, and the lack of information and access to birth control. Okay, so there is a comparison between these two, that there is a great variation among the regions in the doubling their population. In developed countries take more time to double, whereas the developing countries take more time to double, and that population is compared to the developing countries, because they know about the resources, they know about and they have their own lifestyle, they know about all the medical facilities, and they know about how to control the birth, I mean how to reduce the fertility rate, whereas these things are lacking in a in a developing countries, right? Now, some facts are given here, that human population increased more than 10 times in the past 500 years. Then in the 20th century itself, the population has increased 4 times. Now, if you ask me that how is it so that human population increased more than 10 times in the past 500 years? Well, there was a control over epidemics and communicable diseases. and there was the improvement in medical facilities, sanitation, and contributed to the rapid decline in the death rate throughout the world. So there was the increase of population, I mean more than 10 times in the past 500 years, right? Whereas in the 20th century itself the population has increased 4 times. Again, I can say that the extreme population increased only occurred in some countries, and this rapid growth in number of people has been called what? Population explosion. 20th century, remember, with the help of one table I have explained you that after 18th century, that the population increased due to technical innovations and improvement in agriculture, improvement in science and technology and all these. So in the 20th century itself the population has increased 4 times. Now there comes the last topic in this video, that the spatial pattern of population change. What is that, a spatial pattern? Spatial pattern of population in fact means how spread out a population is, in what areas, in which areas it occurs. Okay, so this is what that a spatial pattern of population. It means that how spread out a population is. Right. Now, I can tell you something about this spatial pattern, that the growth of population is low in developed countries compared to developing countries, and I have explained you how and why. And there is a negative correlation between economic development and population growth. Yes, of course, there is a negative if the population is increasing and the resources are limited. It's quite obvious that there would be the negative correlation, isn't it? Then if the resources are limited and the population is increasing at an alarming rate and the exploitation of the resources are taking excessively, there would be the pressure and the tremendous pressure on the available resources. So there is a negative relation between the economy, and the economic development cannot take place. Economic development cannot take place. Even if it takes place, then that has to take the resource exploitation excessively. Okay. Now, population size, I told you about this, that the population size is the actual number of individuals in the population. Then suppose that I can make you understand as far as the size of population is concerned, that in your class on roll there are 37 students, and if 2 more would be added, then there would be 39. So what would you say, the size of population or the growth? The size has increased. I mean size from where? From 37 to 39, but in general the growth of population is increased. Right, in 1 year, in one session, that the growth of your strength has increased. Right, so the size is the actual number. The actual number earlier, how many students were there in your class? 37. Now, if 2 more will be added, that would be 39. So that is your size of population. Now, spatial describes, I just now told you about that how spread out a population is. Spatial distribution can be quite large, such as entire continent, or quite a small area, such as a patch of ground or a forest. Then you can see here that world population, projected world population until 2100 or 2100 is given here. So what does it shows? 1990, then 2015, 2000 years in terms of years, 20,000, then 30, 2050, and then 2100 years. So what is given? That the population increased to 5.3 billion, 7.3 billion, and 8.5 billion. So you can see here that in between 2015 to 2030 years, so what is given? That our population, the current population of the world is 7 billion plus, I mean more than 7 billion. So it has come in between 7.3 to 8.3 billion, and then 9.7, and the it would be in future it would be 11.2 billion when it will be 2100 years. Now among all the continents, Africa has the highest growth rate of population, 2.4%, and the Latin America 1.6, Asia 1.4, Oceania 1.3, North America 0.9. Europe has recorded zero growth during period of 1995 to 2000. Why is it? Because of the education, because of the control over the communicable diseases, and because of awareness, all these. And then the population in the world is currently, 2020, growing at the rate of around 1.05 from, and the example is given here that in 2019 it was 1.08, in 2018 it was 1.10, and in 2017 it was 1.12%. So population in the world is currently, according to 2020, growing at the rate of 1.05. Has it been decreased? Your question is, has it been decreased? And if yes, then how? And why? Then the current average population increase is about 81 million people per year. Okay, and so the world population has doubled 100% in 40 years from 1959 to 1999, from 3 billion to 6 billion. In the span of 1959 to 1999. In 40 years, the population has increased to 100%. These are the facts which you will remember. Now it is estimated that it will take another 40 years to increase by 50% to become 9 billion by 2037. Okay, then the latest world population projections indicate that the world will reach about 10 billion in the year of 2057, or more than that. The current one shows 11 billion. It took 12 years for the global population to increase from 6 billion in 1999 to 7 billion in 2011. How many years? You can see 12 years. It has taken 12 years from 6 billion, reaching from 6 billion to 7 billion in the years between 1999 to 2011. It took 12 years. And in Europe, growth rate has decreased. In Southern Africa, this rate has also decreased. Right? In Southern African countries, this has decreased. Now, I can tell you something about what we have discussed today, the trends in the population. The trends in the population, that is what is this trends in the population? That refers to the size of how the population grew, right? How the population grew with the passage of time, and then the population doubling time. So population doubling time, and then you can see here that population, how the population doubled, right? Within 10 years or 15 years or 12 years, the population grew. And then we have seen about that the spatial pattern of population change, the size of population, right? Rule of 70. Now there comes a question that how science and technology helped population growth. The science and technology has of course helped the population growth. right? And for example, for example, the invention of steam engine helped in increasing the production of consumer products, and in this way the needs of large number of people could be fulfilled. Then the advancement in the population technology like green revolution increased the productivity and the total population or the total production. Now there is a food surplus in the world with what? Due to the green revolution. Then advancement in medical sciences against the control over the epidemics and other communicable diseases resulted in the decrease of birth rate and all over the world. So we have discussed these things today. Now look at this assignment. Very few questions I have given you today, which you will do it in your notebook. Which you will do it in notebook. Like what is the population doubling time? What do you mean by trends in population growth? These things we have discussed, and the size of population, and then again there is one question that how to calculate the population growth. Then the developed countries take more time. What was the reason? And what was the reason? And the more time in doubling their population. Okay.